Okay, there we go. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us this evening. We are the Community Board 8 Environment and Sanitation meeting of November, our third of the year. It's wonderful to have both committee members in person as well as committee members on Zoom. We are the forward-looking committee of the board doing hybrid from day one quite successfully. And I hope that we will have again another productive meeting this evening. Just very quick, my name is Camelia Tepelius, by the way. I will just very quickly go do the roll call, then say a couple of words as far as sort of rules of engagement, and then we will get going with the business. Bob Fanuzzi, present. See, present.
Present.
Okay. Rashida Hilliard.
Here.
Oh, okay. Bob Spolter.
Here.
Camelia Tepelius here. And Karen Argenti here. All right, good. Confirming quorum, we are in business. I would like if somebody would be kind enough. Oh, sorry, rules of engagement. So just for the people that are new with us, generally speaking, the proceedings follow an agenda that is distributed in advance. For each agenda item, we give priority to committee members to speak, ask questions, debate, etc., followed by board members of CB8, followed by the public, and within the public, people that sort of announce us in advance and that they would like to address specific topics are given priority, and if no such thing, of course, general public. Generally speaking, we try to keep well below sort of 2 hours, so I would just invite everybody to make straight their points within 2-3 minutes, and so that we have enough time for debate, questions, answers, etc., if necessary. And without any further ado, I will move to my second point of the agenda, which is approval of the minutes from our meeting of October 19. The minutes were distributed by the staff on October 26. May I please have a motion from a member?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I could second.
Okay. Any abstention? Any against? Thank you. Minutes are deemed approved by the committee. At this point, since I'm seeing both our special guests, I will actually skip my point number 3, chairperson report, and move it for after the 2 guest speakers from DSNY are speaking. Therefore, we are on item number 4. Our special guests are New York City Department of Sanitation, and we have 2 staff. We have Nicolas Chicharo, Assistant Director for Community Affairs on the snow removal program for the winter 2022-23. And I have Hilary Bosch on the composting program. She's Community Outreach Coordinator. Nicolas, if this is okay, I will start with you. I will make you co-host. So if you have a presentation that you want to share on your end, kindly proceed. We thank you for taking the time to join us, and we look forward to hear what you have to tell us about the snow that's on the way.
Of course. Thank you for having me. Again, my name is Nicholas Chicaro. I'm Assistant Director of Community Affairs. So we have a little presentation that I'll go over about snow. Everybody, we did email last week the snow plans. I don't know if you've seen them. Hold on, I'm just going to share my screen. I could show what it looks like. I'm sure you might be familiar. But this was just emailed to all the community boards and elected officials about the borough snow plan. So when you roll through, it gives you like a little bit more in depth about our operations. It gives you information on, like if we scroll down to the last page, the appendix, it'll tell you like how many sanitation workers are assigned to Bronx 8. It'll tell you all the equipment that's assigned to Bronx 8. So it has sort of like gets really into the minutia of the snow plan. Generally, it's a lot of stuff everybody already knows already. but they should be posted on our website,
They will put it on the website.
nyc.gov/snow. They should be already posted as of last week or like Friday or Monday. But if not, we did email them out. You should have a copy in like the community board email. I'm going to start this presentation. And I'll go through it pretty quick. Most of the stuff you probably already know. One of the things I like to start is just to kind of look back at how far we've come in terms of snow operation for a little bit of perspective. So this was in the city archives. It's from 1979, 1980. So this is before our current route where we do critical and sector only. But back in the day, the tertiary streets, the expected clearing time was 3 to 6 days. If you could imagine being stuck on your block for 6 days. Now, essentially, with the way that we have it set up with critical and sector routes, that they take anywhere between 3 to 4 hours after to complete a route. So it's really come a long way since we basically had this arterial, primary, secondary, tertiary. We've got equipment signed to every block. The night plow begins in November. If you're not familiar with night plow, that is where they shift some collections to the 12 to 8 shift. We try to rotate the sections every year, so it's not the same section that gets their collection done on the overnight. But we just like to make sure during the winter time, just put your garbage out after 4 p.m. because you might be in a section that's getting midnight to 8 collection. We know a lot of people like put their garbage out at 8 because they know the guy comes at 10 in the morning, like right before they leave for work. If you see you don't get collected, it's probably because you're in a night plow and they might have changed the time. So that's probably something constituents may reach out about because it happens in every district. We have 3 24-hour weather reporting systems. We have our meteorologist, Mitch, that gives us reports every single day about the weather for the upcoming week. He's looking at all these systems and advising us on what the probabilities are for snow. And then once we get it, we send out, I'm sure you've seen the snow alerts that we send out, letting you know like kind of what we're expecting. We send the information out to all the open restaurant participants because they have different things they have to follow depending on what storm it is. They're allowed outdoor dining, they're not. So we try to keep an open communication, share with everyone we can, but obviously when we send these things out to the community boards and to everyone, if you guys could share with your list, that would help us reach as many people as possible. And we had over 6,500 sanitation workers receiving snow training this fall. Sometimes you see on a Sunday a bunch of trucks driving down the street with plows on it. People are always like, why are these people, why are we out running these routes? Well, we want to make sure that if there's any issues with changing in streetscapes, construction, outdoor dining setups, want to make sure we have the right equipment, make sure the sanitation workers know their route. So when snow hits, they're ready to hit the ground running. Salt is probably our biggest and best, most effective ice melter. So salting will begin right when we have the first precipitation. We started to pre-treat with brine, which is basically just liquid salt. There's a lot of streets that salt is not necessarily effective because they might be hilly, they might not, it just, one way or another, the brine helps a lot and do the same thing the salt does, but it's just in liquid form. So we have a lot of salt. We make sure that we stockpile salt in the summer. We have almost 900,000 tons of salt. It really is like the most effective way to make sure the snow, when it comes down, doesn't stick, it melts, makes the road safe, everybody could get to work, and we could keep the city moving when it does snow. Like I mentioned, this is just a general salt spreader right here by Yankee Stadium. Once we get the first trace of snow, the salt goes out. We don't start plowing until there's 2 inches of snow on the ground. Brine is fairly new. A couple years ago, we started testing it. Now we've expanded it. Nearly all entrance and exit ramps on major highways are going to be treated with brine. And we have a fleet. We invested in some new equipment. We have 30 vehicles, 7 brine storage tanks, 68,000 gallons of brine. So usually it's about 24 hours in advance of a storm that they start to get out there and pre-treat those streets. Like I mentioned, we start plowing once the snowfall exceeds 2 inches because the plows are slightly raised. If they weren't raised, you would be damaging the street, popping manhole covers. It would be, and we already see how much the snow and salt has effects on the roads in general. So you don't want to damage the roads any more necessary than you have to. The plow blades are fixed to the right. I know a lot of people who live on the right side of the street will ask us, can't you fix it to the left? Generally, the plows are fixed. So when you have a route, it contains two-lane traffic or two-way traffic. It has to be affixed to the right, unfortunately. So that's one that I know we receive a lot of calls about, asking every single year if you could change it from year to year so the people on the left side could get some of the snow on their driveway. But fortunately, can't do that. Once we get all the streets cleared, we'll start deploying snow laborers. So that's a lot for the bus stops, the crosswalks, around fire hydrants, everything like that. nyc.gov/snow, you could sign up right now and make an appointment to become a snow laborer if anybody would like to do that. We also got additional skid steers. They're like the small bobcats. Those handle a lot of the pedestrian infrastructure. Should be able to get there better with more equipment. You could see how many of those pieces of equipment are assigned to every garage in that snow plan. We also work with DOT to make sure everybody knows about the open restaurants, make sure that the participants know what the protocol is, how much snow there is to be expected, when they can and when they cannot have people still eating outdoors. But we just ask the participants, we message, safety above all. The roads are going to be maybe a little sloppier, maybe take caution to make sure that your customers are going to be safe in snowy conditions, especially like in a lot of neighborhoods, they're on busy streets. So if cars are still going to be driving, maybe it's not the safest thing. So just make sure it's safe for everybody. Bike lanes, we made a big concerted effort last year to clear the bike lanes as quickly as possible. We acquired upwards of 50 pieces of snow equipment for bike lanes, skid steers like the little bobcats. We have our haulsters, which are little pickup trucks, and other equipment that we've been able to clear much faster. It used to be essentially that we would have to clear all the roadways, then clear the bike lanes. They were lower on the priority, but with the new investments, we've been able to kind of run it simultaneously and get those bike lanes cleared. A lot of people use the bike lanes. We also message to people who ride their bike, just also make sure it's not going to be perfect blacktop, just like the street's not going to be. Make sure you're safe, make sure you're wearing a helmet. If you could take public transportation after a big snowstorm, it might be in your own best interest to do so. But we're still going to clear it as best as we can. That's basically what I just said there. Snow clearing, if we have a huge snowstorm that requires, and even if it's not even that big, sometimes there's large piles at intersections just because of where the route ends up, you get a big pile. If there's any piles like throughout the winter, you can always email me. I'll make the borough and our snow operations aware. Like we try and break those down. Sometimes, like I mentioned, a pile might end up by a school or by a hospital or by somewhere that's, we need to get it cleared quickly. But generally we have a hauler and a front end loader. We bring it to the melter and it melts the snow. Just a little bit of photos of our equipment. We have the salt spreader, the haulster that's plows narrow streets that a spreader can't get to, the front end loader and the melter, the little skid steer I mentioned a few times, and then obviously the truck. This is what I mentioned in the beginning, what we changed to maybe 5 or 6 years ago now. So we have, instead of the critical, primary, secondary, tertiary, we just have critical and sector routes. Critical routes are the main thoroughfares, areas with schools, FDNY, NYPD police precincts, hospitals, you know, the big streets in all the districts. They'll get assigned a little bit more equipment, but there's no difference in terms of the timing. So the critical and the sector routes operate at the same time. They leave the garage the same. They both they have equipment and personnel assigned at the same time. So you'll have folks go out, start doing the critical and sector all at the same time, as opposed to everyone going out doing critical first, everyone going out and doing primary second. It's been much better, 3 to 4 hours per sector route here. You could see they're much more condensed. There's not much overlap. It's just much more efficient, and it's gotten even more efficient as the years have passed on, and they've been able to tweak the routes and add more equipment like we discussed earlier. So much, much better. All of our trucks have turn-by-turn navigation now. So that was another issue a long time ago before they had the turn-by-turn navigation, but this way they know exactly where the previous operator, when their shift ended, so they won't just start the route over again. They'll be able to go to the exact point where the previous route stopped. They don't really have to think as much about, oh, remembering their route, looking at a piece of paper to remember their route. It's all easy turn by turn for them. So it really streamlined the process. We want the operators to just be able to get out there in an emergency snow situation, get in the car and just drive and not have to think as much and make the process as easy as possible. And that really helps with that. This is at our headquarters. So in our operations office, we're looking at different cameras. We're looking at weather reports. We're looking at 311 complaints, Plow NYC, just to see if there are any areas we need to target. So if, say, we just noticed there was, you know, 50 or 20 311 complaints on two blocks, we could get eyes on it and figure out, like, oh, maybe there's a truck stuck, maybe there's a bus stuck, a car stuck, and we could get everything going quickly as possible. I'm sure you're all familiar with Plow NYC. If you go to Plow NYC during a storm, the streets are color coded by the amount of time that has passed since a plow or spreader was on the street. It also will tell you whether or not, essentially, if it's a private street or a public street, because the green streets that are non-DSNY are private streets. So sometimes you might get calls from constituent, like, they haven't come down my block. You know, the Bronx does have some private streets that hire their own snow removal services.
Yeah.
So that it's just a good tool to have. It's gotten much better over time. And it's usually very true to what you see out there and when the last time we were there. After the storm has ended, there are certain time periods in which residents and businesses have to clear the snow on the sidewalk to make sure it's safe for people walking in the community. We're not going out there right after the second the snow ends and we're counting the clock to go out there and give people a bunch of tickets, but we do want to make sure the sidewalks are safe for people. It's a big walk, you know, the city, everyone's walking, everyone's commuting to work. And if you have to commute, like I'm sure all of us have before, on a 2-inch thick piece of ice because somebody never shoveled or put salt down, it becomes dangerous for people out there. So if the snow falls if the snow stops, so there's an official time that we call the snow has officially stopped. 7 a.m. to between 7 a.m. and 4:59, you have 4 hours. If it's between 5 and 8:59, you have 14 hours, and 9 p.m. and 6:59 a.m. you have to clear by 11 a.m. Again, they're not going out like immediately looking to give people a bunch of tickets, but we'll start getting calls from elected officials, from community boards, from community members about unsafe conditions.
Sure.
So we try to assist where we can too, in areas that might be like the weird jurisdictional areas, like overpasses and all these things that might get we try and go above and beyond to make sure these areas are safe. But if you happen to see stuff that somebody's not doing the right thing, not clearing their property, you can always reach out to me and we can have enforcement go out. So if the community board get the complaint, the one thing you should know is while we're plowing, we're not going to divert trucks to address a complaint. So we operate continuously on the route until the snow stops, all the streets are clear. But like I showed in the previous picture, we are monitoring those 311s. 311 will take that information and we will still monitor it. It's very valuable for like our post-storm reports, for our during storm information gathering and situational awareness. So we do recommend and we ask constituents and community put in those complaints because it helps us a lot. But also we don't want you to think we're going to go out to that block. We're going to keep the operators keep operating on that route. If they're assigned a specific route, they're operating on that route for the full 8 hours that they're, or 12 hours that their shift is. So we'll get back to it. But you can always send them to me. We just like to make sure people know that. All right.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Nick. I just have one quick question, and then I will open it to my committee for them to ask you their questions. So just in this scenario where you clearly said, plows are not like redirected because you make a 311 call or whatever. But I'm just wondering about 911 situation, like it snowed overnight, old lady in her house has a stroke or whatever. She calls 911, I'm having a stroke. How does, situation, how, that ambulance, how does it get there? Or is like an emergency sort of plow kind of sitting aside just to attend to the medical, like if it's a medical emergency, if it's a fire, God forbid, like that sort of thing, if you could explain the scenario.
So during all of our snowstorms, we actually have one of our chiefs. The past chief is actually in a different bureau now. I'm not exactly sure who the chief is that goes. Used to be Chief Mellis, but we have one of our officers goes to OEM and they're essentially in a room with almost every single agency that has any sort of snow jurisdiction. So if there is an NYPD issue and there's an emergency or an FDNY issue, we'll make sure we have the pieces in place to coordinate whatever we need to do. We're working with them constantly, especially after the November storm a few years back, where people got stuck in rush hour traffic for about like 8 hours, and there were car accidents on the bridges. One of the biggest things that came out of that was actually a massive increase in interagency communications. How can we make sure that we could get in front of some of the traffic and during rush hour, like police escorts to certain areas that might need it, like a bridge when things get crazy. But we are working with them, and we know that if there's something like that's happening and the street is completely unpassable, they know who they can speak with and who's going to be able to handle that issue. And we actually have one of my colleagues, Steve Caruso, actually works every single Thursday with in NYPD, sort of like, it's sort of a similar thing where they're developing relationships with other agencies. He goes over to one police plaza, he works in their office for the day, handles a lot of complaints, and it's all like part of like interagency promotion and making sure, again, like they know who to reach out to if they need something in 10 minutes. They don't need to wait 2 hours to try and find someone. Like, we have a guy staged for that type of scenario.
So there is a process, basically. There is a procedure, there is a process for like real life and death emergencies to be responded to. Great.
Yeah.
Bob Canuzzi lifted his hand.
Yeah.
If anybody else wants to speak, please let me know. Okay, Bob, so Deb, and then Bob Spotter.
Nicholas, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Thank you. Say hello to Steve for us. So when we had the Carmageddon 2 years ago,
Yeah.
with the snowstorm from hell, we did a postmortem here And at the time there, I was part of that. And could you tell us who makes the call for salting? Is that at the time it was OEM, or no, it became OEM? Who makes the call? You told me about the 2-inch for plowing, but who makes the call when to salt and what agency in terms of your new interagency model?
So in terms of beginning the salting process, the second a flake comes down, we go out and begin salting.
All right, that started right after that. So that's continuing. I guess that's my question, because that's
Yeah, but
that was a change in policy. Yeah.
for as long as I've been here, I've been with the department 7 years. We've always done first trace of precipitation. Now, I know that things got a little bit, at least right after that storm, that following snow season,
Oh, yeah.
there was certainly an increase in like aggressiveness. So even if it was potentially like not going to be as crazy, or it could have been sleet or maybe even just rain, but the temperatures could get down there, there was definitely more application of salt to make sure the roads were safe. But that's been pretty much our standard.
Are we going to see brining in this district? Are we going to see brining in this district?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that an alternative to salting?
It's not necessarily an alternative. We definitely don't have right now the like the scope isn't large enough for us to completely replace salting. Like I mentioned, right now we have 30 pieces of equipment as compared to how many salt spreaders we have, and we have like 68,000 gallons. We have 900,000 tons of salt. But it is certainly an amazing supplement to salt, especially like I mentioned, the like entry and exit ramps that sometimes very sort of like curvy. The salt helps really hit like every single spot. So all the entry and exit ramps throughout the city will be brined. The streets that are very narrow and hilly, you can add those to the brine routes. It is going to continue to expand, but in terms of even procuring the amount of brine that would need it to be procured for to replace salt completely, it's probably not in the foreseeable future, but it will definitely continue to expand.
One more thing. So we are a host to one of your salt piles. Okay. And so in a snow event, we're going to see a lot of truck traffic going in and out of Van Cortlandt Park. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other locations in the Bronx? I don't remember the map. A few slides back.
That's it. Let me see if it should be. So Orchard Beach is the snow melting location. Let me see if there is the salt pile location.
We're going to see a lot of truck traffic.
Melting.
Yeah, they do melting over there. But I think we're the only snow pile for the trucks.
Salt pile.
North of Manhattan. Yeah. Remember we did that research for the park. Yeah.
I'm not finding it right here.
And then I'll go back. I know it's
Yeah,
like.
I can easily get the list of all the snow piles, but I don't see it right here.
But just in terms of quality of life here, we will be seeing a kind of elephant parade of trucks going up and down Broadway into Van Cortlandt Park.
To prepare for the storm, yes, most likely.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Bob. Deb, please.
I got two, they're mostly interagency kinds of questions. And thank you for coming to the meeting tonight. My first one is just in thinking about greenways, particularly we've got the Putnam Greenway, we'll have eventually the greenway along the Deegan. Who is responsible for, like, you've got the bicycle lane equipment for the street bike lanes? Who's responsible for the greenways within the parks?
That would be Parks.
Do they use salt
Or DOT, whoever owns.
in step streets?
Do they?
So,
Do you know what
yeah,
what their treatment is? Like, where do they?
I don't know what their exact, protocol is, but there's different. So essentially, we're obviously the largest responsibility in terms of streets and bike lanes that are within the street. Parks handles the salting and plowing within and in like the sidewalks around their property. DOT handles a lot of the overpasses and plazas. MTA handles around the subway. There's definitely a lot of moving parts. But anything within the park, we don't go into the park to plow for them.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you. And then Step
They
Street,
have their own equipment and everything for all that, so.
and probably something we should check. when budgeting.
Yeah, you would just, any one of the park managers would be able to tell you, what exactly their treatment is. But generally, they have a very similar, at least in terms of their protocol with salting, like either 24 hours before or right when the snow starts to come down, and then periodically plow every couple of hours, making it through the park.
Okay, and then Step Streets, what order are they cleared?
So that Step Streets would definitely fall into like pedestrian infrastructure. So right when they're done with the streets, then we'll start deploying manpower for the Step Streets. I know we've taken more of a, in terms of cleaning approach, we've taken a more proactive approach because it was kind of, there was a lot of strange jurisdictional like ambiguities around the Step Streets. So we just ended up starting to clean the Step Streets. And during snow, we'll make sure that those are clear as well. But they will definitely be, the pedestrian infrastructure comes after the street, and it could be a little bit of time, but we know Step Streets are, again, very busy, very trafficked. So they'll definitely be given priority in terms of like, we try and prioritize getting to the infrastructure that's most used, because there's just so much pedestrian infrastructure between the crosswalks and the bus stops. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. So we try and get to those as quickly as we can.
Nick, excuse me, just I'm interjecting just for 1 second. In terms of the Step Streets, because we have so many in CB8 and our differences in elevations are so high, if there is a need for us to advocate in the budget for next year for additional manpower or whatever you need, please let us know.
Okay. Yeah, we always take additional.
That was one of my follow-ups, is like, do you have enough manpower to do this? I mean, this is what we often hear from other agencies, is that they are stretched and they have to make priority change decisions. And I mean, do you have the manpower that you would expect for a regular storm, like once or twice this winter?
Yeah, I think that we're very well equipped. Snow planning is a 365 day a year activity. I mean, but in the middle of the summer, we're going through the routes, we're procuring equipment, getting salt. Like it really is. It's probably one of the things we think about most all year long. We're definitely prepared. Could we always use more people? Of course. And pedestrian infrastructure is definitely one place that it's very labor intensive, because you can't really use that much equipment for it. Getting to a bus stop, it needs to do a lot of it by hand. So it takes a little bit more time, but we're definitely we're well equipped. So, but if there's any locations that you guys think are the highest priority, I always say when I come to all the community boards, you could email me in advance. I send them to snow operations and just let them know, like, please keep an eye on these locations first. If we know like certain Step Streets get worse than others or get more frequented than others, or anything that you'd like to flag for me in terms of concerns you've heard from constituents, you could please send them to me.
Great.
Okay.
Deb, you want to do one more? I have them too, just so that.
Yeah, I'll go fast, which is like my next one is just simply piggybacking on what Bob was saying about all of the trucks lined up on Broadway to get salt. I know a lot of buses and the MTA are experimenting with electric vehicles. Are you doing the same?
Yeah, we have electric, a few electric brooms that we had out, and we did have a electric collection truck. I don't know exactly what the status of it was. It's obviously much more expensive than our normal collection truck, but we have been experimenting with it. I don't know what the plan is right now in terms of expanding to, make sure the entire fleet is electric, but it's definitely one of our priorities, is making sure we're using the most fuel efficient vehicles, emitting the least amount of chemicals as we can with our vehicles. And it's definitely something that the agency is prioritizing. And even in all of our facilities, the new facilities we've been building are all, like green facilities that operate much better than the older facilities in terms of emissions and stuff like that. So definitely something we've been looking at with our vehicles.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Deb. Bob, please.
Okay, hi. First, I want to thank you for a very expansive report. And as someone who's been listening to these on this committee for about 30 years now, it's amazing how they've evolved.
Yeah.
I want to ask a question that probably my wife, the chair of the board, would have asked, because she always does. But it used to be the procedure that they can't resume garbage pickup because of union rules until all boroughs are totally cleaned. All plowing is done before they can resume garbage pickup. Is that still the way it is?
Essentially, once snow clearing ops, it's not necessarily we have to wait for, like, if the Bronx is done, they're not just gonna wait for Queens
Oh, that's what they used to tell us.
to finish. Yeah, no.
Okay,
A garbage collection after a snowstorm is like priority number one, because even though it might only be one day behind, it takes several days to catch back up. If you have a big storm and we might have suspended it for 2 days, that could take like 4 days to catch fully back up, because they're going to do the day out. They're going to do the day they have to do, and then they'll be working, maybe an extra 4 hours of overtime, so they could collect half of one of the routes before and then go back the next shift, try to get half of the night. Well, it takes time to get back to the day on day. So once the streets have been cleared 100% passable, the infrastructure, they definitely send personnel out to do pedestrian infrastructure, but we try and resume garbage collection as fast as possible.
great.
Good.
That's it.
Thank you. Karen, yes.
So, the protected bike lanes, those are the ones that you're talking about, not all the bike lanes? How do we know which ones are protected? Is that like the ones on Broadway?
He.
Parking protected.
Oh.
Mhm.
Okay.
Where'd you go?
Yeah,
You
that's-
know, John,
Weird.
you move screening.
Oh, John raised a hand. Okay, and then, you don't have to shovel private streets? We have private streets. I didn't know that,
Right here.
Yeah, fields.
but they all get shoveled.
By
They
their own.
hire their own.
Private.
Oh,
Yeah, so generally in terms of, so we have had streets like that we service that are private, like communities, but there's like a whole process they have to go through. They have to get insurance.
It's
They
from
have to
like.
essentially go through a lot, like removing liability from a sanitation worker for going on. It's a whole process for like getting service on private streets as opposed to public streets.
Okay. Can I move to Jody? Yeah. Jody, you have the floor. Hold on.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Nick, for that presentation. I just have sort of a perception question. Are you seeing a trend in people expecting the streets to be like magically snow-free? I used to measure snow for the National Weather Service through OEM, or NISM as it's called now. And I was noticing that a couple of years ago, that people expected to see asphalt all the time, even while it was still snowing. Are you seeing a trend in complaints when there's fewer inches on the ground?
I mean, as long as I've been here, people are, they want to get to work. And if, like, even after Jonas, when we had, 24, 30 inches on the ground, that was coming down Monday into Saturday, or Friday into Saturday night. Monday, it was like littered with complaints that it wasn't blacktop on their street.
Incredible.
And so people, we've set, former Commissioner Grayson used to say, it's one of the consequences of success, because we set the standard that we're going to be out there as fast as possible. We're throwing all of the equipment out there as fast as possible. And no matter what, if you do a good job, nobody says anything. If you did a bad job, you're on the cover of the New York Post. basically.
Yeah. I was measuring one year, it was 2 inches an hour, and people were like, why aren't they gonna plow? I was like, the plow just went by. So,
Yeah, it's, you know, people, and I get it, like, New York is a city of like extreme amount of commerce coming in. You have a lot of people traveling, people want the road safe so they could get to work, they don't want to miss out. So we get it, we know the pressure is high, and that's why we prepare all year long for snow, because it's like if nobody talks about you, you had a good, it was a good season. So that's what we're going for. But you know, it's expected. I mean, I'm sure it's like working in the community board, like, you know, you just hear the complaints. It seems like you don't hear a lot of the congratulations, you know.
Yeah.
well, I wish it was silent snow season. You know?
Jody, I have 2 more hands up from 2 board members. Just checking if you want to have
Nope.
another question or you're good.
Nope, that was it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe Chris was first and then Laura. Chris, please proceed. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Chairwoman, and good evening, committee members. My question, actually, I have 2 of them. I understand the garage on 215th Street in Inwood, which the equipment comes out of for Community Board 8, is going to be closing for emergency repairs. So my 2 questions are, how will that garage closure affect the snow response to CB8? And the second question is, where is the equipment going to come from if not from there?
So generally, I don't know the exact specifics of the rehabilitation project moving forward. I could get you that information when I'm in the office and email it over tomorrow. Generally, we have in all of our garage rehabilitation projects, this is not really new that we've had to do over the years since I've been here. We find suitable swing space that can house the personnel and the vehicles. And in general, it doesn't affect operations because we are generally only looking for swing space that wouldn't impact the operations in any significant sort of way. They're already operating outside of the community board, and it hasn't really affected. I don't foresee any sort of major operational impact. But I don't really have all the specific details on that project offhand. I can definitely get that for you though tomorrow and send it over.
Thank you. Excellent presentation. And I'm one of those strange people that likes a good snowstorm or 2 because it'll force me to eat that can of Progresso soup in my cabinet that I've been staring at all year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. Laura, please proceed.
Following up with what Chris was saying, we're trying to set up a meeting with Tommy, our superintendent, and Camelia, because I think that we're going to the South Bronx is what I was told. And there seems to be some concern on some of the people we have spoken to that services may be affected, and particularly in snow because of the distance. So we would be interested in learning more about that. The other thing is I have a question about the Clean Initiative, where the council people have given about $28,000-$30,000 extra for clean initiatives. We have 3 council people and we're looking into this. Can you tell us a little bit about the criteria and what kind of things you're looking to do as special cleaning throughout?
Sure. So I actually manage the New York City Cleanup Initiative. So
all right.
Very familiar. I don't have offhand the full spreadsheet of everybody that's allocated and what the services are, but I have that up on my office computer at work.
I mean,
talk
is
to
it
you
kind of
about
like
that.
emptying the baskets more often?
Yeah, so every
Concentrate finding a dumping area,
every
just
council
in general,
member-
because we'll be looking
Yeah.
for sites.
Yeah, every council member has $280,000 that they could provide cleaning services for. They could do sanitation, they could do ACE or Wildcat, CEO, one of those non-for-profit groups. From sanitation, you can either purchase litter baskets, You can do mechanical broom service, litter basket service, something called MLP service, motorized litter patrol, which is basically like handling illegal dumping spots and like big, heavy, nasty litter conditions that you might see in areas that are kind of like chronic dumping areas. And you can also purchase enforcement cameras for illegal dumping as well. That's something new that they could do this year.
I see. But am I correct that this initiative is not like using Wildcat or FedCap or any of those? This is monies, my understanding, goes straight to the Department of Sanitation.
No, they could,
It does
council
not,
members
okay.
they have the option. It has to be used for cleaning related services. So they
Mhm.
can't like collect from a school an extra day or something, or for a neighborhood an extra day. Has to be something cleaning related. And it could be through us or one of the non-for-profit
I
groups.
see. I see.
We
Thank you.
definitely get I wouldn't say the lion's share, but like a lot of people allocate to us. We usually get somewhere between like 30 and 40% of the total initiative funding.
Mhm.
And so we're probably the biggest individual allocation from the members, but then, you know, Wildcat gets like 15, 20. Doe Fund, or well, I don't even know if they're still around anymore, but ACE will get like 15, 20. And those groups really do great work because they do stuff that we don't do. They do graffiti removal, they do power washing, they hand sweep the commercial corridors. We always find that when it's a combination, it works great because like they don't empty the litter basket. So if they're working on a corridor and they clean a bunch of stuff up, they put it next to the litter basket. So if the member actually funds additional litter basket service with that, we can get those bags off the street faster, like in the middle of the day when they might not normally get that. So we always try and preach like a balance. We'll definitely, we bother all the council members while they have money all the time. We also have a certain lobbyist group that works for the sanitation worker union that talks to the members about giving us funding. And we really try and bring the best services to all the districts because, it's like every district, no matter how clean, could really always use a little bit more to get those. They all have areas that are chronic problems. So.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Nick, and thank you for a very informative presentation tonight.
Thank you so much, Laura, and thank you, Nick. Not seeing any more hands. Nick, we will say thank you very much one more time for being here and giving us all this time and information. Again, if there is at any point a specific need that you feel like would benefit from our advocacy on our end as far as budget requests, again, we are particularly concerned, I feel, about the management and cleanliness and the snow removal on the step streets in our district. But there is anything that we can kind of help advocating for, please feel like there's an open door here. And we are wishing you a lovely evening, and thank you one more time for being here with us. All the best. And then without any further ado, I will turn to Hillary that has been patiently waiting for this moment for the past 51 minutes. So Hillary,
Sorry, Hillary.
thank you so much, Nick. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I learned so
Hillary,
much.
okay, what do you need from me? Should I make you co-host? Do you need to share on your end? I will make you co-host.
That would be great. Thank you.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Thank you for coming again back to us. I remember you presented very quickly in our September meeting where we were trying to kind of fit everything. So we really appreciate you again taking the time to just join our environment and sanitation specific meeting. I gotta share that from my own building manager, I received 2 days ago an email saying, congratulations, your building is in the composting program. All the old folks, they have been asking for it for like years. And we in the board were like, actually, we can't do it. We're not sure, blah, blah, blah. So just so that you know, it trickles down. So we appreciate it. I will not speak anymore. Please take it over.
Oh, I'm so glad. That's great news. Wow. Great. Thanks for having me. Bronx 8 is the only community board in the Bronx that has curbside composting right now.
Hillary, can you speak a bit louder? I don't know. I will try to make the volume because we are hearing you a little bit. Yeah, it's maximum on our end. Or maybe just be closer to the screen, I don't know.
Let me check.
No, you're off now.
It says mute.
No, if I
No,
mute her,
that's
but
what
she's
she
unmuted.
wanted to mute.
Yeah,
Oh, I see.
There's a reason for that.
Okay.
We're the only. This committee.
hold on, she's switching to,
He's switching her sound.
yeah,
Yeah.
headphones. No, now we really don't hear you, say something.
She's doing her, checking her sound thing down here, I think.
If not, we revert to the previous setting.
Nothing.
Mm-mm.
We cannot hear you at all. Listen, don't worry, we will be super quiet on our end. Go back to the way you were before. No, we do not hear you.
It's when everything was fine and then.
I
it changed
know,
her sound.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just talk really loud. Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry if I sound like I'm yelling. I don't.
No, that's not.
You feel very excited. You've been yelling at us this whole time. No,
No,
coming in great, don't worry.
it's fine.
Okay. Let me go ahead and pull up what I have.
That was
Yeah,
great.
what I was saying is that Bronx 8 is the only community board in the Bronx with curbside composting, and that's a large credit to the number of people that wanted it and said they would participate. So thank you to everyone who signed up and has been pushing for it. You're the reason it got there.
Huge shout out to Jody Colon, and this committee has been really at the forefront for a long time. We're very proud of that, and we want it, and we're going to keep it.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, this committee has been so helpful, and the community board and particularly Councilmember Dinowitz's office has been
Oh yeah.
very active. So thank you all. So everything I say is probably going to be familiar to you. I'll just go over maybe a couple updates that you've seen around, and then some statistics that are available online, but we can go over tonight. Just so I don't embarrass myself, can you see the Zoom
Yes.
box? You can see it? Okay.
Yes, yes.
All right. So, as you probably heard, curbside composting started up in Queens in October. It's a little different from the opt-in programs where buildings did not have to sign up, the supers didn't have to sign up or anything. Every building was just automatically on a route, similar to recycling and trash collection. This was just another version of the service to see which worked better. We tried the opt-in program to see if that made routes more efficient, and we went point to point, so we knew exactly who was participating, and we could get in touch with people. We had their contact info. That was successful in some parts of the city. Now we're trying this. So the Bronx service remains the same. The Bronx service continues to be sign-up based. For large buildings, you still need your building's approval, meaning a superintendent, property manager, or anyone responsible for telling the person who does take out the trash to take out the compost every week. There is also something that came out a couple months ago called a building compost volunteer, which is basically someone saying, I will be the compost superintendent for my building. I will be the person as a resident taking out this compost bin. But because we don't want to get anybody in trouble, the form for that also requests that you just give your building a heads up or a notification, because we don't want, to deliver a bin. Everyone's really excited to participate, and then a super that doesn't know what's going on to just throw out the bin or fuss at someone or anything like that. But I encourage you all to go check that out if you have colleagues or friends in buildings that are struggling to get their building management on board at just this makecompost.nyc site. That's a great resource for buildings, especially where the superintendent says, I'm not here, the day of collection, or I can't be there to set it out, and the resident can take on those responsibilities. Again, service started in Queens in October, but for the Bronx, when you sign up and your building gets approved, we review these addresses on a monthly basis. And if you've received that approval, or if your superintendent or resident manager signs up the building directly, it will automatically be approved because that's what we call an authorized rep for the building. And those are added to routes every month. And the person who signed up the building will get an email, as anyone of you that signed up will know, will get an email saying when you're on a route and then your collection day. So to find out your collection day, you can go to nyc.gov curbside composting. It looks a little bit different now, that website, than when it did at the initial rollout when Bronx 8 first got service in December of 2021. Now, since the programs look a little different depending on borough, you can click on the Bronx and that'll give you specific information for the Bronx. Still, collection is still once a week. The big update is for bins, actually, and we can talk a little bit more about that. Oh, Can I Compost for My Building has service, as you all know. Still food scrap drop-off sites until the building has service. We now are, I think, almost at 250 drop-off sites and growing, particularly with smart bins that'll be installed within the next and following fiscal years. So keep an eye out for those. That'll be really exciting. I'm looking at my presentation and it looks like the bin discussion, the bin slide is in a couple more slides. But again, to find a food scrap drop-off for folks in buildings that don't yet have that curbside collection, oh shoot, they can go to nyc.gov/drop food scraps.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not alone.
You know, talking about that, my cat is meowing. If you can hear.
Oh, you.
We're about to put your cat's name down for the purpose of attendance.
He's very angry. I'll let him out in a moment.
Bless you.
It's because I had food out, but so you might have seen this chart before. This came out in the 2017 waste characterization study, which showed that curbside recyclables, which is stuff that we've always been recycling, like paper, metal, glass, plastic, that all is a third of the waste stream, whereas compostable material is also a third. Unfortunately, we do not collect a third like we collect of recyclable materials. Looking at some stats for Bronx 8, it looks like on average we collect about 2,200 tons of refuse a month, 300 tons of paper, 375 to about 400 tons of metal, glass, and plastic, and only 39 tons of composting. If it was actually the third that it was supposed to be, we would be collecting about 970 tons of composting a month. So we have a long way to go in terms of tonnage that we know is there, but we're not able to collect, and that's typically because of the barriers of, you know, it's still a voluntary program and getting those buildings to sign up. And it's still voluntary even within buildings that are participating if residents choose to participate or not. So we're still working to fill that gap, bridge the education gap, and that's where a lot of your work comes in. And it's definitely showed because, you know, before December 21, we were collecting zero because we didn't have it rolled out, and you're the reason we're collecting any of that. So again, recap, you've all seen this. Why compost? It's good for the planet, good for the neighborhood, good for your block, good for the city. Reduces methane emissions from landfills. Food waste decomposes into methane on the block. It prevents rats from seeking smells and foods in black plastic trash bags. I used to live in the Bronx, and I think maybe an hour or two once after we set out black plastic trash bags, they were already ripped open, and it was just a mess. But these brown bins, or now that you can use your own bins, are rodent resilient and really should help mitigate the rat problem on your block. We've worked really closely with the Department of Health to try to get as many buildings as possible on board to mitigate against rodent activity around the city. I don't know if anyone listened to the press release that DSNY did, but rats don't run this city. We do. We're trying to. That was one of my favorite marathon signs. Plenty of those. But again, yeah, it's the big shame of it all is that this compostable material is not waste. It's a resource. We don't want it to be eaten by rats. We want it. It's a resource. We want to use it to make compost, and we want to use it to make biogas, and we don't want it going in the landfills. So, not a waste, but a resource.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yeah.
this is.
No, go. Sorry.
Sorry, I don't want to miss any questions. It's a little hard for me to hear as well, so I'll try to answer questions at the end just so I don't accidentally talk over anyone. So in previous rollouts of the program, one of these brown bins was required to participate just so sanitation workers knew what to look for, and there was sort of a standard bin across boroughs. When buildings sign up in Bronx 8, they can still request these bins, however many they want for their building, and we'll deliver them. But these bins are no longer necessary, which is another great way to eliminate a hurdle to participation. The number of times that buildings have reached out and said, our bin was stolen, or our bin, fell over and the lid fell off or whatever, and it takes a month to deliver a new one. Now you can use any lidded trash can. Just make sure it's rigid and make sure it has a lid, and then slap one of these composting bin decals on it, which are available online for free, and we can deliver them to you. If you have not signed up, I would not recommend that buildings set out their own bin when they're not added to a route. Even if you know your neighbor's collection day, even if you know it's Wednesday for your block, the truck might not look at your address. They might pick it up, but they're not looking for it there. So I would still encourage residents to sign up. This is more if something happens to the bin, or what has been happening recently is that there's more and more residents participating. We're not delivering any of these brown bins after a building signs up. So that initial request is very important now, particularly for high rises. For example, if there's 100 apartments in a high rise and they only request one brown bin at the sign up, we're not able to provide any more. But we are suggesting that they get their own lidded bins and then put the decal on it, and we'll collect it just the same as if it were 10 more brown bins. This is in an effort to eventually distance ourselves from the dependency on the brown bins, and again, just reduce another hurdle to participating and get people right on track right away. Leaf and yard waste is the same as always. You can either put it in your brown bin in a paper, lawn, and leaf bag, or bundle sticks. An update for this year is that you can put leaves and yard waste in a clear plastic trash bag. The facility that we're taking this material to can sort that out. Just in the past, we haven't encouraged plastic bags because we're not in the practice of encouraging people to use plastic. But I understand that not everyone has access to leaf bags, so plastic bags are fine for this year. And I did want to note that for areas not receiving curbside composting and for Bronx 8, special leaf collection is happening again. That's what I stopped by the main board meeting to talk about. Those will be on November 27th and December 11th. If you go to nyc.gov/compost and look at the section for yard waste, it'll have those dates. And if you miss them, you're out of town, you have more stuff than you can set out, there are plenty of leaf drop-off sites in the city as well that you can drop off your leaf waste to. What goes in the brown bin? Everyone knows this. If it grows, it goes. Any kind of food, yard, plant, or food soiled paper. If it's clean paper, then I recommend that you recycle it, of course, as always. But if it's like a greasy pizza box, tea bag, coffee filter, anything like that, if you drop pizza on your notebook, anything like that is okay to compost. Same for cardboard. I think I mentioned the pizza box, but cardboard is okay. Again, how to participate. This is pretty easy. Everyone knows it. Separate your food scraps within your kitchen. That makes it easier. And drop it into your building's brown bin, like you would drop any other kind of waste, recycling and trash. And then your building super, or if you own or take out your own trash, you just set it out on your composting day. And that can be found again online, but it was also sent to the person who signed up in that initial email when they were added to a route. This is mainly to show that in case people ask you all, they're like, oh, it's such a burden, it's such a new hassle. It's really not. It's the same thing that we've always been doing. It's just another bin and a little more separation in the kitchen. But other than that, it's basically the same practice. Tips for superintendents or anyone setting up their bin. Make sure everyone in the building knows where it is and know how to use it. When buildings are added to a route, we mail them outreach materials like what to put in, what not to put in. Everyone in the building should get that, or the superintendent or whoever signed up should get a package of them with enough for every resident. So make sure everyone knows where it is, how to use it, and they know to close it. That's the big thing. The biggest complaint that we get from buildings that have the bin are supers saying, I set it up, I did all this work, the residents know what to put in and they're using it, but it still smells and they're not closing the bin, so it defeats the purpose of it. And that's a real shame because they went through all this trouble and you want to get all the benefits out of it that you can. So again, for anyone that or when you're talking about this program, that is very, very important at every stage to close and lock the bin because that's where the local benefits come in. But still, sometimes if the bin's left open for a little bit or something is in there for a little too long or the bin hasn't been rinsed out or, something leaks out, any of those reasons, sometimes it gets a little smelly. That happens. To reduce odors, I would suggest, again, locking the bin after every use, draining liquids before putting it in, put some baking soda, put something dry at the bottom, anything dry to soak up residual liquids and odors. Some buildings also, to reduce smells, only set out the bin a couple days before collection so that the food waste only sits in it for a couple days. For example, if a building's collection day is Monday, they might only make the bin available for residents the following Friday or Thursday. So that maximum, the food waste is only in there for 2 days. But that also means that residents would have to store it in their apartment, which not everybody, prefers, but that's just one way to manage the bin specifically. Common misconceptions. I know you are all on board, but this is for the people you evangelize this wonderful service to. Main one, that it attracts rats. Not if it's closed. Not any more than a trash bag if it's closed. And if it's closed, it reduces odors and also reduces their access. So it is better than a trash bag and in fact reduces rodent activity, the opposite. Second one, composting is complicated. It's not. It's just the same as recycling. You have to separate it in your building or in your apartment. Sorry, and then at the trash set out location. But it's nothing that none of us haven't done before. Separating our waste. The composting meat, bones, or dairy. This is important. We still get questions about this, especially from people who have been using food scrap drop-off sites. Some of those don't accept these materials because they're a little bit hardier if they're a smaller compost site, but the curbside program does accept these materials. Additionally, if you see something in the bin that shouldn't be there, like plastic or a wrapper or a sticker on produce, you don't have to worry, and your building management doesn't have to worry about picking that out or sorting it like they would have to do with recycling. Again, the facility that this material goes to in Queens, it has the technology to separate that out. So there's no sorting required, and you can put meat, bones, and dairy products, shells, any kind of seafood shells, and nuts like pistachio shells. All that is good. Again, same with the plastic bags, stickers, all of that. We can sort out the nasty stuff and then keep the food waste. It's heavier, so it separates. The last one is that people still think that we're not actually going to compost it because sometimes they see the truck and it's a split body. So they see one side and it looks like it's going into the same container as trash. It's definitely not. If it's not a split body, then it's specific for composting. We would not go through all this trouble to make all these routes and give away all these bins if it was just going into the trash. So yeah.
Hillary, I'm sorry, I don't mean to rush you, but I do want to have some time for people to ask you a million questions.
Sure, that's about it.
Oh, perfection. All right. Do you want to stop sharing screens? Thank you. Okay, I have Deb, and I don't know if this is a raised hand from Karen or just helping her head. Or funny angle. Okay, Deb, please.
So I have a garden group that does park stewardship. So we weed and we put down compost in planting beds, horticultural beds for the Parks Department. And in the past, we've been able to order like a pallet of the compost, the finished product. But we weren't able to do that last year, and it ran out very, very quickly. Do you like with the expansion into Queens? Do you see it like usually January, February is when it becomes available? Do you see it actually being available for more than a few minutes for people to sign up for?
Yeah, I heard last year it went real fast.
Yeah.
I do hope that it'll become more available. I'll put my email in the chat if that will help.
There's no
You don't
chat.
chat.
We have to, I mean, I have your email, so I will make sure that CB8 staff has it so that we put it out there for people to reach out.
Yeah.
So yeah, the main options that we have are either that form that sold out really quickly, or my team for curbside. We do have 40-pound bag distributions that we can host, but they are available to the public. So the best that we could do for your team is hold an event nearby, maybe even in the park if you wanted, and then make it open and available to anyone in the public, and then you all take the bags that you needed.
Okay. And then my other question is somewhat related, which is the Parks Department. You know, we pick up hundreds of bags of leaves every year and weeds, greens and browns. None of that gets composted. It all gets thrown away, as far as I can tell. I mean, is there any discussion of the Parks Department leveraging Sanitation's composting program, or learning from is there any opportunity to improve what is a real waste of resources?
I completely agree. It's been a huge thorn in our side, pardon the park pun, that Parks doesn't compost their leaves. It's very annoying. In Queens, we have been working very closely with Parks operations to have them use curbside set out. So every day now, actually every day, including today, I'm going to Parks in Queens, making sure staff have leaf bags, making sure staff know to set it out on the right day. For the Bronx, we sent the Bronx Parks Borough about 15,000 leaf bags to use. If you see that they're not using them, that's not good. We sent them the stuff that they really should be on it. So I'll follow up with our contact in the Bronx to see how that's going.
Yeah, if you could give Camelia the contact in the Bronx so that we could follow up with them too, to make sure that they're doing
That
it.
they collect leaves in brown bags.
This is gonna be good.
Also, I'll reveal myself as the Parks Chair for Community Board 8. So
Hillary, you're in trouble.
I think we've got an issue here. It's great.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Content parts, I guess, to follow up with.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely, to understand what they're doing, so they may already be doing it, and then it would, what they would be doing, or what should be doing is putting it out on their compost on the pickup day for Van Cortlandt Park, or for Brush Park, or for Port Independence.
Whatever neighborhood they're in.
Whatever neighborhood they're in on that day.
so for the Bronx, I believe the current system is for a truck to go by all of those locations and collect all leaf bags for processing at a single Bronx Park site.
Which
So that's the line that the Bronx Commissioner shares with us. We know, obviously, from anecdotal proof that this is not happening.
No,
Not at they're using black bags. They're going in the trash. This is like I said, I totally hear you. So I'll follow up with them, but they should be collecting it all for a single site. It should there isn't a Bronx wide collection day, so the parks might not be on routes, but they should be composting their leaves.
okay, that's great, thank you.
So, I mean, what are you recommending? Are you recommending that they bring all the leaves to one place, or you're picking them up at the site?
She's saying there's a route that connects all the parks, and they should be putting it out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
No,
probably
so-
by the golf house where they do the Christmas tree
Yeah.
compost.
No, they should be putting it by their park,
Yeah.
each park has a place.
but it's not that easy.
Yeah, there's not
So
happening.
for Queens,
Yeah, sorry.
they're setting it out on a certain day for DSNY to collect. For Bronx 8, they're setting it out for parks to collect. Parks internally goes around to all their locations, collects the leaf bags, and is supposed to collect them all for one central parks composting site.
Oh.
Oh,
That's what I would, it's in your.
Where's the central?
Downview.
That's
Yeah, not happening.
Downview?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Deb, can I
We can find- yeah,
go to Jody, because she looks
Yeah.
like she knows stuff. Jody,
She always
it's
looks
on you.
It's just because I listen a lot. So Hillary, definitely that's not happening. I am the co-leader of the stewards of Henry Hudson Park, and I work closely with the stewards of Ewan Park. Deb is of Fort Independence, and Russ Park is part of the network as well. And Parks hasn't given us leaf bags and said, put your leaves out. So there's really not communication. We do compost all our leaves at Henry Hudson Park. You can come to Leaf Crunch on Saturday if you're working. But that's really good to hear that Parks is centralizing it, and then Sanitation is picking it up to compost it at Soundview. So that's very exciting. But can we press to get pickup in Bronx 8 on the brown bin route? Because there are a lot of trees, there are a lot of parks here. And that's one question. And the second question is leaf collection. Were brown bags made available this year to residents for the upcoming leaf pickup? That was something that was, they were distributed in previous years.
Sure. So to the first question about putting parks on the curbside route, it's still site to site. So we can check with the Parks Department about if they're willing to get their locations on a route. I will say that it was challenging to get them on board for Queens, but we can follow up to see or make sure they're composting them one way or another. We don't care how they get to us. We just want the leaves composted. And if, collecting them for one single site isn't working across locations, then I think it's, like you said, worth a shot to get them on curbside.
Great, and not just leaves, Hillary. I mean, we weed like maniacs. So the groups that have stewards do, Deb, like how many bags do you fill of just plant material?
We do about 400 bags a season. So we do 24 cleanup events and about 400 bags. They're all the large industrial black bags. Plastic. They all go into the trash.
Oh, that's a shame. One thing to note, if you're doing a big event like that, if you could share out my email, we can do special collections for example, if you know like this one day we're gonna set out
Nice.
300 bags, let me know and we can send someone directly to that site and let
Yeah.
the garage know.
Also, if I may, sorry, Jody, can I just interject for a moment?
Go ahead.
If just my experience from another community board at my work, like we always reach out to the community board, which reach out directly to the super whatever intendant, and he always, when we know we have an event, a cleanup in a park or whatever, and they send us like everything we want because they love it when community actually gets engaged. They're super happy to give us bags, plastic bags, like hundreds of dollars worth of those rolls of the black ones and paper bags. I'm like, I don't know, this has been my experience with DSNY. So probably Jody, we could make some extra asks.
Some choice.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Deb, that's what we did for when we did Leaf Crunch at your park in 2019 and Brust Park is,
Yeah.
but organics was more complex. So the super, we went through, Ben was handling it at the time, Hillary.
Yeah.
So, but that's good to know that's still available. So I'll keep that in mind if we can't fit it in our giant bins. And then my second question was about the expansion of pickups to include leaf collection. I know our district is one of those. Are there leaf bags available for residents?
Sure. So we gave out via either community boards or elected officials or nonprofits, I think 175,000 bags this year so far. Because we're working with parks and because we gave out that 175,000, we're actually all out of leaf bags now.
Yeah.
I found out yesterday, unfortunately. But for people who want to set out their leaves, they can now use clear plastic bags. I wish I was able to still give them out, but we're cleared out for this year.
Jody, are
Thank
you?
you.
Yes. If nobody else has their hands up, we do have a couple of more items of the agenda. So Hillary, once again, many
Thank
thanks.
you.
I have a
Thank you
feeling
very much.
that we'll keep in touch because this little connection with parks that you flagged for us will need to be further explored.
Yes,
That's really fun.
the more people pressuring parks, the more people pressuring everyone to compost, the better. I'm all for it. Peer pressure
Cool.
away.
Yeah, and when you compost, it makes your other garbage so that if you're looking for a letter or something, it's not disgusting. That's what, when I started doing it, I found out, sometimes like what happened to that check, it's like, it's not absolutely
Dumpster diving is
disgusting.
cleaner.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you one more time. I think we do have your presentation, which we will include in our minutes and everything. If you have ever anything that you want to push out to the community, like in the form of a flyer or whatever, please do send it. We are very happy to ask the office to post it on the social media of CB8 and everything. I'm thinking actually I will ask them to put this link where buildings can register for the composting program, the same like my building did. So, and make like a little bit of a push on that. And without further ado, we wish you a very lovely evening. And I hope your cat is feeling better now.
Actually, let me go grab them for y'all.
Yeah, we don't want to be in the midst of that cat.
Yeah, it's been quiet for a while, so she should go check that.
Yeah.
An event, because have you promoted the Leaf Crunch events on Community Board Aid Facebook?
Yes, I think, yeah.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Good night, thanks.
Oh, he's precious. Is that a boy or a girl?
He's a boy.
Oh, what's his
And
name?
now he became interested.
Oh,
He's like
adorable.
5 months old, so he's still a baby.
Oh, he's precious. He's needy too. Enjoy
Bye,
him.
everyone.
Take
Small
care. Good night.
for joining us. And again, we really appreciate all your work and connections and resources. And thank you one more time.
Thanks.
Bye.
Great.
Okay, so we had a lot of DSNY, full hour in fact. So I will try to not rush, but kind of quickly touch points pending. 30 minutes. Yeah, no, we're good. let me quickly do my chair report, but a lot of points have been already kind of touched upon. So lucky for me, I can skip them. I will skip snow plan. DPFE notified the office that there was sewer cleaning being performed. Delafield between West 259th and West 260. She notified us November 14. I'm going back chronological order to our previous meeting. NYC Water will have a workshop on the Green Infrastructure Grant Program. This will happen December 7. The information is with the office for anybody that's interested. The hearing for the CSX acquisition, we thank Laura for testifying on behalf of CBA. We thank BCQE, the two reps we have here for submitting their testimony. And I also wanted to be there just as a person because I wanted to make the connection with the economic development issue that I directly witnessed 3 years ago when I was on Broadway and I saw a lot of floodings. We are thrilled obviously about this property being bought. There is an article in the front page of the Riverdale Press this week, so I'm happy the community knows. New York City Planning issued the comprehensive waterfront plan. It's 294 pages. Most of it, as you may expect, is kind of Brooklyn, Queens, Lower Manhattan. Complete emptiness on our section of the woods. But at page, one second. At page 207, so I scrolled through the whole thing. 217, the Tibet's Brook Daylight thing is given a paragraph under innovative nature-based methods for treating and transporting water. So it's recognition, right? Okay, good. The document is available online. If DEP also notified us, not DEP, somebody, I think a resident, on significant garbage being basically disposed improperly by the adjacent building at 640 West 237th Street. Basically, it's the super speeding the garbage all over the sidewalk and blocking traffic instead of keeping it together. But I think the office reached out to the building management. Thank you, Karen, for submitting pictures of 250th Street. Along the east side of Golden, where a lot of trucks and buses and what looks like kind of industrial commercial vehicles being parked overnight. I think the office is following up on that too. On October 26th, we got from DEP information for the community on the work being conducted. Well, it was on the 26th, on the 29th, the work was going to be conducted on the North Basin Ramp Mall, something like that. North Basin Ramp. Yeah, okay. But good notification to the community. There were there was work and equipment happening there.
For a Saturday,
FEP said yes.
Yeah, that's why we sent that notification.
Yes, thank you. Then they also said in the message that the North Basin will remain empty during the capital improvements. Is this correct, Effie?
Yeah, that's from my email. I had sent that email. I don't have the particulars in front of me, but I think the reason we wanted to notify everybody was weekend work and in case people were wondering what was going on there. Thank you.
Okay. And then the final point that I had was I was already raising the initial related to Nicola's presentation on this equipment relocation on the DSNY base serving our district that is now at 4036 9th Avenue to 800 East 176th Street. In all honesty, my personal opinion is that I think that since they knew this was coming, I do think that they will have all the logistics in place to prevent delays as much as it is within their
Where are you putting it?
800 East 176th Street.
That's the Broom Depot. That's over in Bronx 6.
Yes. Yeah. But it is a 3-year project. that they are working to redo whatever their original garage location. So we will see how it goes. With Laura and Kira initiated a meeting with the super that I think we are trying to schedule at the moment to learn more about the practical implications for the district, and if there's something we could do to assist in case they foresee delays in service or other issues. So this is all I have in terms of the chair.
Can I go back to the DEP report?
Yes.
What does it say about the North Basin
Effie, do you want to answer that?
being unfilled?
Peaceful.
But
I
it
don't have the email in front of me, but if the community board
forward
can
it, yeah.
share that, yeah.
I will forward you the email.
Yeah,
It's work that was done on a weekend.
Yeah.
It's part of the regular contract.
So it's not gonna be continuously empty.
It is continuously.
No, it
It's
is.
been continuously
For
empty
the-
for a couple of years.
Yeah.
now.
So what, so,
It said the mail said the North Basin will be empty for the rest of the capital improvements project. So
That's,
But-
yeah.
the North Basin doesn't have to be empty for the rest of it, because at some point it goes south on the other side of the wall.
Well,
Well, so the current state is that the North Basin hasn't had any water in it for a couple
Yes,
of years
right.
because they're doing the work along the brickwork along the Goulden side.
Right,
And so the guys are still doing the brickwork along that side.
right.
And then it appears that after they get done pointing it, they're prepping it to do that liner cover. And then hopefully at that point, they may be able to put
But
water
don't
back
they
in
have
it.
to, they have to
I don't know.
continue that on the south side,
Then they'll
where
have
the
to,
water is.
they have to
move the water to
from
the.
one side, that'd be a question, I suppose.
So,
for
but our question was, why is there so much grass growing?
I don't know, Effie, do you know why there's so much grass growing?
No, I'm not sure. And maybe, winter's coming. So I don't know if that's still gonna be a problem.
But you should take care of it. Exactly, because otherwise the roots keep going down.
Yeah, could really damage the
It's already
concrete.
damaged.
Yeah, there's substantial, I don't know if maybe you've already seen it, but there's substantial growth of plants and stuff in the bottom of the North Reservoir.
Effie, could you get back to us by email even so that I inform
Yeah,
everybody
so
else and we follow up by next meeting?
Sure,
Effie,
if you don't mind, send me a formal email as well in response to that one that I had
yeah,
sent.
so I think what we'd like is a project update, capital project update with all the changes in water level between the north and south.
Got it.
Um,
Okay, good.
Because, and we have resolutions on that from 3 years ago
Okay, wow.
as
Okay.
references.
Also, just while we're on the JPR, just one thing, so there are historic stones, like big stones from the wall of the Jerome Park Reservoir that have come loose and are laying along Sedgwick Avenue, along Reservoir Avenue.
Really?
And so I just want to raise that they should go put them back into the wall. You can see where they're missing from the wall, and then if you can see, like, there's another 2-foot piece of stone that weighs
But they're-
hundreds of pounds.
Yeah, just their goal is to put a masonry
No, it's on the
Nice.
outside. It's
on the outside.
on the outside.
We fought that battle to replace the stones and.
Yeah. Effie, if that's okay with you, I will collect bullet points from Karen, Bob, and
Yes.
Deb, and I will
All of
forward them to you, and then you
Please.
answer to us when possible.
Yeah, project.
Thank you.
Project update.
Thank you.
East Wall.
I'm done with the chair's report, and we have a little bit of old business, but if you don't mind,
That's true.
yeah, that too, we're not done. We have 3 more points, yeah. I just want, because Ms. Macleod was so patiently waiting, I will do new business, and then we'll do old business, and then we'll do our even older business.
I have one question, one
Yeah.
thing for Effie,
Oh, go ahead.
just because I know it's good, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Effie as well. This is relates to the park in McFarland Park, the Mosholu Golf House. It's been one of our budget capital priorities for a long time to add a sewer line to that, so that they can actually use the bathrooms in the old
Right.
Mosholu Golf House. I wanted to just know if, just for you to follow up, maybe you already know, if anybody from the Parks Department has already reached out to talk about this. And I guess to start there, has there already been any discussion, and what would the process be to get something like that going?
Okay, it's not called the old Marshall Golf House. It's called the temporary Marshall
The
Golf. House.
former Marshall Golf House, it's the old one. The
No,
one
no,
that you-
no, the old one, no, it's gone. The old Marshall Golf House is gone. This one is a temporary replacement until the new golf house gets done.
So version 2, Marshall Golf
Yes.
House version 2.
Right, and then we're waiting to the third.
Okay.
Effie,
Does that make sense?
Yes, I'll look into that.
Good. Deb, let's add it as a bullet point to be followed.
Yep,
Cool.
thank
Okay,
you.
cool. So we are in new business that we will do before all business. And I just want to say that we received a request from Cal, what is it called? Cal, the Call, yeah, anyway, an organization doing arts related environmental project or environmental related arts projects. And we will put them on the agenda for 10 minutes over in December. We will discuss agenda for December. Give me a second. And then I want to give the floor to Ms. Macleff. Ms. Macleff, thank you so much for joining us once again. Thank you for your patience. I know it's a little bit over an hour that you've been waiting, but please feel welcome and please tell us what's on your mind.
Okay, can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Yes.
Terrific. I enjoyed watching your deliberations. I have the same value system you have. Everything you did was for us. So this was a pleasure. I am here for something a little different, and I would like you all to have my email in case I strike a chord and you would like to contact me further. If you can read it, it says Rachel Macleff up there.
We can read it perfectly.
All right, so if you don't have a space, if it just says Rachel Macleff as if it's one word, and then you add at msn.com, then you have my email. And I don't know enough about this lovely group to know whether you would know what I'm talking about or whether you can teach me some lessons. I have no idea. So this is what happened. The new business is to discover your interest or perhaps even knowledge of a rather complicated issue, which is the project to purchase hydroelectricity from Hydro-Quebec.
Yeah.
Do any of you know about this issue?
Yes,
Yes.
we know.
Wonderful.
Yes.
So
Okay.
there,
Wait, let her ask the question.
Yeah.
Go ahead, you have a question?
Ms. Macleff, yes.
So here is my ask. Whether you're for it or against it, this is what has happened. I belong to a group that is very against the project. And we have become experts and we do our own webinars and things like that. And now we're looking around for an elected official to let us speak our point of view. And I was thrilled when a member of Assembly Dinowitz said that he would consider letting us come and talk to him. And this was about 2 weeks ago. And he gave us his communications director, whose name is Klein, Jeffrey Klein, I believe.
No,
Yeah.
Frederick Klein.
Is it?
Frederick.
Frederick Klein.
Of course it is, Frederick Klein. I've been communicating with him. Frederick Klein is considering meeting with us, but he says, we don't have any constituent from our district. Could you, when you come and talk to me, could you come with a constituent? So I am here to beg for a knowledgeable constituent. Your value system is terrific. I have no doubts that you will be wonderful.
Yeah.
If you can provide some of you as constituents, my job is done.
Yeah.
If you cannot, I would ask you to beat the bushes for somebody of your caliber. I don't want to show up with somebody who's just sitting there like a lump.
Ms. McLeod, thank you
Yes.
so much. I apologize for interrupting you, but we do have to go through 3 other items. We do have people with a lot of knowledge right amongst ourselves that have been meeting many people and stakeholders and have deep knowledge of the topic. So I would just invite both Fanunzi to answer.
Yeah, ma'am. So you want to take a look at the meeting that we had with the renewable energy at this, I'll get you the date, but I believe it was September, October. We did have a presentation in the ENS committee a year ago about the plans to run a transmission line down the Hudson River and into Spite and Dibble and down the Harlem River. So you are seeking people from this district. Do we take it that you are not from this district?
I am hardly, but I passed through your district because I belong to the Yonkers Paddling Club. And to save money.
What's the name of your
Subway.
environmental organization?
Pardon me?
What's the name of your environmental organization on whose
called-
behalf you're speaking?
It's called Grow Renewable New York, No Canadian Hydro. And I also am going to try to involve a multi-state organization that many of us belong to, and it's called the the Mega Dam Resistance
Yeah.
Organization.
We're
I
very
am a
familiar
woman.
with.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, what I suggest at this point for your organization to advocate and involve yourself is
Yes.
to be involved with the Article 7 environmental impact statement
It's over.
process.
It's over.
No, they submitted.
Can you email that to me?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I have a bird of
So the
little brain.
Canadian is done.
It's finished.
There's
We lost it.
another consortium of companies, and I won't take up more time. The Canadian contract is done. The Canadian EIS is done. It was actually grandfathered from 2014. It's done. So that's fruitless. But there is a new process open now for a company called Clean Path New York.
Yes,
And that is very much, they are taking the same energy, and that is very much live
They're
right
not
now.
taking the hydropower from Canada.
They're not taking.
They're taking the same line, they're going on the same line, they're together, but they're taking their own energy, like from someplace up in Albany.
Okay.
All right.
All
So, yeah,
listen, please, people, I'm embarrassed because I am petitioning you, but I have to tell you that I do not have the background to research what you're alluding to. If one of you,
Yeah, I know.
that's your chair,
I don't
Yeah,
know.
Ms. McLeod, yeah.
email me with what to look for.
Yes,
and
Ms.
whether-
McLeod, but to begin with, because we are just on the call now, would you mind just sending an email to the board with your affiliation, the issue,
Sure.
so that we address it then as a committee, but send us something in writing so that we see what your ask is and we follow up
Absolutely.
and we direct you as we can. The email of the Community Board 8, you will find it on their website, but I will tell it to you right now. It's
Yes.
bx08 at cb.noic.gov. So please send us an email with.
Of course I will.
Okay, excellent. So then we take it from there. And I really appreciate you reaching out to us. I really appreciate any community member that feels passionate about an environmental item and just bringing it to us and considering us a resource.
But I think we have to
Karen
say,
wants
we
to
have
say
to say that the community board has not taken a position on this.
Yeah, but that's why I'm telling her to email us and we look at what's.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I'll get some help and I will email you very
Okay,
soon.
okay.
I
Thank-
will let you go to your lovely business. A pleasure meeting you, and we will.
Same here. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. All right, great. So now we have only, 15 minutes, but we'll be good. First of all, in new business or old business, I'm back to old business, not all business. I would like to make a formal announcement of appointing the vice chair of the ENS group in the person of Robert Fanunzi.
Just when you thought 2 hours.
Okay, let's see, ladies, let's see if this enthusiasm comes up. People, okay, I will not say the word, okay. Rashida, I see your cute emoji there. She's happy because she got it off, right?
I'm gonna wipe that smile off.
That's but settle down, settle down, settle
She's
down.
actually at an island to avoid being the vice chair.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, so this one thing is done. Now let's see the enthusiasm when I will call for a little report of the water group that we
Oh,
constituted
yeah, that's true.
last month.
Water group.
Because on January, I believe 6th,
Yeah.
there is the deadline for submission for input on the Army Corps of Engineers
Yes.
new grant plans. Okay, I just want to put it out there. I know we all feel very passionate about this. It's not an issue that directly affects us. It's again sort of Manhattan, Brooklyn situation. But I mean, we felt enough, strong enough
We will give a presentation.
something.
We'll
So,
give a
but just please consider if you want to make something in the shape of a written input that would need to take form of a resolution for the full board, or in some other way. If you remember, even with us, but I think with another committee too, they requested permission to contact or to input. So I don't know if we need formal board approval in the form of a resolution, or we just need to ask them to allow us to directly provide input. I'm just asking.
We usually comment, as BCQ, we usually comment in terms of a letter.
Yeah, but I'm not asking at BCQ.
I know, so you don't need to fill out an automatic, upload something. As far as I can tell, I finished doing the EIS, there's a whole bunch of other documents. And it's not having anything to do with us. We're gonna have the unintended consequences of them building walls on
Other places.
other places that's gonna probably overflow towards us.
Correct.
And we could talk about that.
Yeah,
See, I was gonna make a motion that we not meet in December.
I would be personally happy with it, but I don't know how people
I know,
feel.
but we have a deadline in January.
Yeah, that's why I'm putting it on the table. Do you want us to do a resolution for full board or not? I don't know. Is there
Well,
a
we
need
missed
for
it,
it?
what has to be done now, so there's
Yeah.
not.
So there's no,
Yeah,
okay.
it should be
People just-
complicated.
Yeah,
Instead of the
it's
board-
all-
Yes, the board is be interested.
Yeah.
Yes.
They'll all be snoring.
Yeah.
I think we have to meet in December then. You can.
Why don't, can't we have a meeting before that?
We can have a meeting anytime.
It was already,
There's something else.
once a month.
But even the letter, how to say, Bob, it would, like, we wanted to draft it, but have a formal public meeting to even discuss the letter.
Yeah, we have to meet.
So that's the issue.
Yeah.
Or we how to say, or we leave this under observation and monitoring for the future, because again, it's not directly immediately relevant to us. It's marginal a little bit. And it's obviously a process that will take years. So I don't think that
I
is,
think we should just present on it, what we've learned and what we recommend, and it should be December.
So
okay.
the
And you-
December meeting is on the 21st.
Oh, boy. See if you can move that up a little bit.
I can if you want me
Thank
to.
you. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea.
You're not available.
The community board, you're not available on the 21st?
It's my turn. Guys, come on, let's. Hello, remember we are being recorded and in a formal meeting, so let's try to wrap up our business and then.
Nobody's listening.
Yeah,
We'll make a presentation, and if you could get an earlier meeting, that'd be appreciated.
yeah, so I will do that, but would you or Karen or together, the water group draft something so that, yeah?
Yeah,
We will have something,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
We do quarterly reports for the committee, so whenever we're due.
Okay, cool, okay, and we are fine as far as the full board, we don't need to request any,
I don't think so, no.
nothing.
No.
We just submit,
No, but you should report to the exec, you know.
we'll do that, we
Yeah,
are creating a document that we will
Well, if
submit.
you
Usually Laura signs on it as well, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know,
but
but
Laura together.
but it's not like a decision, it's not, it's like
We
a,
would vote on it, it's like it's coming from the committee in that case, instead of coming from the.
no, but what I'm asking, will it be a resolution for full board? Will I need a
No,
full board vote? No. Laura, are you okay with this?
Yeah, letters do not need a full board approval.
Excellent.
They need your committee approval and you draft it, but letters that go out on letterhead are signed by me and you.
Excellent, all clear.
So,
Topic
but
closed.
wait a minute, so that's a letter that asks questions but doesn't take a position.
It's whatever letter you want.
Yeah, we will draft it in a way.
We
Karen,
have
okay, all right, let's discuss text.
because we have two jobs here.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Exactly. Okay, good. Final point on the agenda, just for me to request from you, kind of just to recap, what are we doing in December? Clearly, we are doing this letter. We are having Cal to come and speak for not too long, hopefully. And what else? Or are we good for
No,
a shorter December
But
meeting?
we should get the capital update from Effie and her team on their.
On these items?
Yeah,
that
but
we are-
that I think we need a whole meeting on. I think we should clear the deck for that January or February.
Yeah, don't let's.
So you wanna move the
Yeah,
ladies for
make it a short meeting for December.
for December with just these two items?
Yes.
We're gonna get,
And then we will
we're
wrap
gonna
it up
squeeze
shortly.
in a meeting someplace here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I will work out the calendar with Kira. I will
Right.
go
Yeah,
talk
work
with
with
her,
the
yeah.
calendar.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I will
But I
make it
think
as early as possible,
We
yeah,
can queue up JPR for the new year.
okay.
And what
can
about
we-
what about
so-
the sewer connection for the, and.
So January.
I guess that's kind of
But
FMC,
I think everything DEP, we should put to on January,
yeah,
everything
they
DEP.
have it all together,
Yeah,
that makes
cool.
sense to me.
Okay,
But it's also filtration plant stuff.
8:53, we are still good under 2 hours, if everybody.
One last comment when you're done.
Okay, Dora, please proceed.
Okay, Deb just brought up FMC. Last night, a new chair was elected for Community Board 7.
Oh, who's that?
And I could not organize a date because there was no chair for Community Board 7. So we do have a new chair for 12, because this involves, as you know, 8, 7, and 12. So I will be trying to schedule an FMC meeting. Okay, just want to say I was waiting for that election.
And we'll
Yeah.
work on issues to give you.
Yeah.
We'll put
by
that together.
Yeah,
Yeah, 'cause
Laura, most likely January, right? Or?
Yeah, it would not be before January, February. It's hard with 3 boards to find a date, but we will.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah,
Thank you. Anybody has any final words to add, or if not, somebody kindly make a motion?
I
or
make a
adjourn?
motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Excellent. Anybody against or abstaining? No. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. And thank you, everybody, for being so warm and engaged. We really
Good night,
appreciate
good night,
it.
Rashida.
Good
great
night.
meeting.
Good
Good night, everybody.
Everybody.
Good night.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night. Good night.
Night.
I have a great article I have to share with you.
So I just want to say.
I'll email you, okay, Jerry?
We-
Yeah, yeah.
Stop the recording.
Recording.